Get ready to plunge into the electrifying world of tech news with the Next Tech Check podcast. Hosted by SmartTech Research's Mark Vena and NextCurve's Leonard. This podcast offers bold insights, controversial debates, and monitors the pulse of innovation. It's the only podcast committed to keeping what's next in tech in check.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Vena, CEO and Principal Analyst of SmartTech Research, and this is Leonard, founder and executive analyst at NextCurve, and welcome to the Next Tech Check podcast. Today is Monday, February 5th. Actually, 3 days after Apple Vision Pro started to ship. You each have kind of interesting stories to tell about that. I got mine around 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning on Friday. I think you got yours on Saturday, correct?
Yeah, Saturday morning. And it was a surprise. I wasn't supposed to get mine until the 20th, believe it or not.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about the initial ordering experience because, I was up. I'm the kind of nut job that I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning, California time, ready to double click. Yeah. And it was a pretty smooth experience. Now, I don't wear glasses, which is what Leonard's going to get into in a second. But I was able to order in about 2 minutes. It wasn't like ordering an iPhone where, sometimes it takes forever for the for you to get into the store. But Leonard, tell us about your experience ordering, which created some chagrin on your part.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So the part of the ordering process is a vetting of whether or not you need to get these inserts, right? These optical inserts, because the eye tracking on the Vision Pro is so precise that you need to have the ideal. I mean, I guess you can't use these things, or we know you can't use them with glasses. In fact, with hard contacts, you're not able to use the unit either. But I got waylaid putting my prescription in because they ask you for an official prescription. And that took me an extra 10 minutes. And that 10 minutes pushed my order out like 3 weeks. But I did on the February 2nd, receive my inserts.
but here's
really useless without the headset, right?
But here's the observation I'll make about perseverance in life is that I really thought that you were not going to get yours for at least a week or two. But then you texted me on Saturday morning saying, "Hey, I'm going to the Apple store." Did they pull the order in, or what did you do? How did you get the?
Well, you know what? I was interviewing people. I was asking people who were demoing what they thought.
Oh, so you were at the Apple store and
and then they were telling me, I was demoing it. We're blown away, and we're just gonna pick one up. I said, what? And I was like, they have units here, and I went and I asked the store manager. And lo and behold, they said, well, if you put an order in, well, yeah, if we have one that fits you, we'll give it to you now. And that's how I got mine. I don't know if they broke store rules to do that, but I ended up getting it the second day. And I feel very fortunate. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to ask, right? You got to do your little Scooby-Doo thing.
That's what life is all about. And I don't remember it happening with an iPhone where you go to the store, you're supposed to get it in 3 weeks. Oh yeah, by the way, we'll get you an iPhone. Just tell us what your order number is, we'll pull it in. So yeah. But anyway, I think what's interesting about this, and this has been a fascinating week. I think Leonard and I feel incredibly gratified because I think we both feel that this is something big, and meaning that, to me, it's a home run from an interface standpoint. They nail the interface. The eye tracking is pretty amazing. Not 100% perfect, but it's pretty damn close, and it's only going to get better over time as they optimize the software and they optimize the firmware. I'm going to do it right after the podcast. I did about 5 or 6 different usage models recording the video, and it's got a big head start because it's compatible with many iOS and iPad OS apps. So right out of the gate, it's got a big advantage. Now, the number of optimized apps for Vision Pro is a far smaller number. I think it's 600 or 700, which is still not a bad number. But nevertheless, there's a big app pool you can pull from. So I think that's the plus side. But first and foremost, before we get into that minutia, because I was fascinated because within the first 24, Leonard and I kind of text each other on the weekends, and you said, like, this thing doesn't feel right. Did you have it on backwards? I don't know, Leonard. You're a pretty technical guy, so I'm sure that was the case. So then you went from kind of skepticism, saying, "Hey, this thing is pretty cool and addictive. It's like a drug. I can't take it off my head." So give me an overview of that journey from that initial text to kind of where you are right now in terms of just the using it and the usage of it, frankly.
Well, you know what? It's a beautiful device. I mean, the impression that you get straight off is this is Apple. This is highly engineered, well designed. You know, people say, "Oh, you know, it's smaller than I thought." Well, it was about the size that I thought it would be. It was a bit heavier than I thought. That being said, I was really excited about this.
Yes.
Right? And when I first put this single band on, right, because it comes with the single band as well as the dual
the strap that goes over your head, right?
Strap that also goes on top of your head. Man, this thing really hurt within 10 minutes. You know, so if you put it on and you just assume that this thing is just going to
I know what you did. You didn't adjust it with the knob.
No, I did. I adjusted it with a knob, but in order for it to fit snugly, I mean, everyone's face is different. That's why they go through this really rigorous customization process.
Yes.
They apparently have 30 some odd, if not 40 different versions of this thing, which is the light seal. I mean, you want to talk about precision stuff and a supply chain, you know, micro supply chain, just to personalize it for you. These guys have it down. I mean, it's crazy, right? But man, when I had this thing tightened, you know, with this thing just pressed straight into my face, I had to take it off within 10 minutes because it was just compressing my brow and it hurt. But what I discovered is you got to kind of play with this a little bit and angle it.
Yes.
And you know, what works for me because of the shape of my face is if you have the band up a little bit higher up on the top of your head, and then you, in a very measured way, tighten it, it can be very comfortable. In fact, I was wearing this for 6 hours straight. No problem. Well, you know, maybe a little bit of fatigue, but the content is so, I mean, the experience is so compelling. You just don't think about it, and you have it on your face for 6 hours. Next thing you know, right?
Yeah, and I didn't experience any of the comfort issues that you did right off the bat. Now, maybe because I have a smaller head, or a lot of people would say who know me, I have a small head, you know. But that's another podcast. But the reality is that, like you, I haven't suffered from any fatigue issues, which is what I was concerned about. So the comfort for me has been pretty good.
Yeah.
The inserts they have that seal out the light, they give you a couple. At least I got a couple, and they gave me in the box.
Oh yeah, they give you two. Yeah,
I think they're the same size. I don't know whether maybe one is a little bit larger than the other, but I think they're this. They look at you know, looking at it with my eyes, it looks like they're the same size. But regardless, you feel pretty immersed when you put these damn things on. Yes, and they got magnets. It's classic Apple. You know, they are nice and replaceable. So in case you spill something on it, you can go out and buy another pair at some exorbitant price that Apple, I'm sure, will charge. But the thing is that the thing that really jumped out to me, and the first app that I used, because I just wanted to see, hey, let's kind of play with the AR portion, is that Dinosaur's app, which you're smiling. And watching video, everyone, it does not do it justice. You have to go to an Apple store and you have to put it on. And I was in a very dimly lit situation, by the way. I think Leonard's going to make this point, is that you really want to have pretty good lighting when you're using this. Yes, it works in low light conditions, but like everything else, when you're dealing with optics, the more light you have in the room, the better quality effect you're going to have. And I will tell you, this Dinosaur app, which is only a taste of the future, which is amazing. Remember, it's not just you're not watching like a 3D movie like Gravity, that movie from a few years ago. I mean, that's one thing because it's a movie, you know, the things fly at you and you can't interact with them. Yeah. This is AI built into it. So when those butterflies floated out toward me and I started swiping at them, and they move away because they can kind of. And by the way, when that panoramic view opens up and you're in prehistoric times and you see the little baby dinosaurs, I'm kind of giving it away, but you're going to see it in the video that I send out later. It's truly amazing. And when those two gigantic dinosaurs come out, and by the way, it's interacting with you. And I got up when I got up close to it, I almost felt. Tell me if I'm wrong, Leonard. I almost felt I was expecting to smell bad breath
Breath. Yeah.
from the dinosaur itself. You know, it was that realistic. And
Yeah.
then when it turns around to face the other dinosaur, the tail comes literally through your screen.
Yeah.
You know,
And the frame rate is amazing. I mean,
yeah,
it's like literally, and actually, the recordings don't do the
justice.
experience justice, because I don't know what they do, but I think the frame rate is lower, is probably less than 30 frames per second, because what we actually experience through these glasses is probably 90. And that whole dinosaur experience, it was incredible. One of the other things that blows your mind are those environments, and it sounds pedestrian. I was like, oh, big deal, environments. I'm like, no, these
No.
are incredible. I mean, it's like you are there. There's like one of the scenes, which I believe is like a volcano.
Yes.
You're at the top of one of the Hawaiian volcanoes, and it's like literally you're there. And here's the other incredible thing. The room setup, like sort of the setting of the space, right? The space, or your room scanning. It happens automatically. You don't even think about it, right? The only time that it's happened is, let's say that you're in that volcano scene. As you move closer to a desk or a wall or whatever, that wall appears through that that virtual experience, just like in the holodeck in Star Trek, except it's reversed. It's so well done.
It was, I mean, again, to me, and that's the mark of a good piece of technology, and particularly in this case, is that it's so immersive, it disorients you. And by the way, there's a disclaimer at the beginning of that dinosaur thing that you might experience some discomfort. I think they did that for effect, to tell people, hey, you're really in store for something special. So that was incredible. Back to the interface, because I want to get your feedback on the interface. I haven't really, I know there's some reviewers that have been complained about, well, it only works 85 or 90% of the time. That hasn't been my experience. Now, I did upgrade the software once. Some of these reviewers may have been using the beta version of the software, but it worked for me about 95% of the time. And the only disappointment I will say, I don't want to get into a long laundry list of complaints, is that one of the usage models that I think are going to be killer is the ability to take your Mac desktop and put it in the virtual display. Unfortunately, right now with the current version, and this will change with the next, I don't know what they're going to do, and they're going to wait until the next release that's announced at WWDC. But the ability to have multiple virtual desktops would be very cool. So that now you can have multiple apps and multiple multiple apps running at the same time. But I found that it would have been nice to have virtual desktops on my Mac.
Sure. I mean, it's one step at a time. You know what I'm saying? And even with, if this is a first go at a product like this, and I've tried a lot of different XR devices, this is really, really good. This is the thing that I've been talking about to the XR community for the longest time, is like, don't start from the bottom with these subpar, mediocre experiences. In order for this category to pop, you have to deliver wow.
Yes.
And because once you deliver wow and people get used to it, it settles down into whatever level of compelling residual that's left over.
I couldn't agree with you more. Remember, the magic of that, because you could apply that model to a lot of different types of technology. The reason why you want to come out with it and nail it is that the one thing that's true in life is the cost of technology comes down. So yes, this is a $3,600 pair of headsets. Yeah, that's true. But 2 or 3 years from now, you'll have the same level of functionality. By the way, they'll start to shrink in size, because there's companies out there in the silicon space already working on ways to reduce the amount of real estate you need that creates the bulkiness. So that's going to come down. The costs are going to come down. But to your point, if you don't nail the usage models, you don't get level. People are not interested.
No,
You know,
I mean, no, it just has to be, there has to be enough awesome in that first iteration. So it flies in the face of MVP. This is not an MVP, people. It is not. Apple does not release an MVP. This is a very good product. Yeah, sure. The battery, it's tethered. Okay. All those things actually don't matter. The thing is for what this device does and proving the point of the experience and the form factor, it knocks it out of the park. Yeah, there's going to be improvements technically going down the line, but the thing is until you actually experience this thing, you will just not know. And I think that is that is the favor that Apple has done this entire category,
yes.
right? They've shown us how great this can be, not how mediocre this can be, or
Yeah.
how much this hurts your eyes or whatever. I mean, think about just the process of getting one of these and then how personalized it is truly, from a supply chain and just the entire retail experience. Um, you know, uh,
Well,
I think it'd be tough to follow in the
no,
beginning.
Leonard, you always make good points, and honestly, the point that you just made is a good one because every OEM who's not Apple,
Yeah,
every ingredient supplier who's not Apple, who's creating
yeah,
components for these products, they are privately rooting for Apple to be massively successful because a rising tide will affect all boats. And yes, now by hint, I want to see what Google does in terms of coming out with a version of Android that does kind of the same sort of things because you got to get a Samsung involved. To a lesser extent, I have the most faith in Samsung, by the way, to do something at
yeah,
least the quality level that this category deserves. I'm a little bit more skeptical of the PC OEMs, which
yeah.
undoubtedly we'll get into this, but they probably will not have the. I mean, they're such an orientation toward low price. You'll see a $9.99 version of
Yeah.
something like this faster than anybody else because they live on price. But the one thing I will say, and I want to get your reaction to this, and it's a little, I was interviewed this morning on a publication on Tech News World, a publication that I write for, and they're frequently reaching out to me about some of the societal impacts of this, because I have to tell you, and I got to get your opinion on this, that Dinosaur's app, and again, this is going to get a little, I don't want to go too crazy here, but you could easily see a lot of crazy social apps, shall we call them,
Oh,
that
yeah.
really, you think social media is destructive, and we all saw what happened with the hearings last week, where Zuckerberg made a apology type of thing. That was crazy in itself. But when you all of a sudden now, when you have a child who's 13 or 14 and using this gear for maybe educational purposes, that's wonderful. It could have an amazing effect on education. Love that. But if they start, there will be companies and outfits within the next month, not 6 months from now, but within the next month, designing very adult-oriented apps for this. And it's not just about watching content; it's the AI component that you can interface with that indiviandal.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm nervous about that. By the way, I'm really nervous because that could really have a profoundly negative societal impact on children.
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe not even just general children. I think just in general, I think that's one of the things to be very concerned about. I don't think that this device contributes to that directly. It might be tooling in those types of applications, but here's the thing. There's definitely nothing you can do to stop it. If adult content is something that's actually fueled a lot of the big things that came out of Silicon Valley. It's just a reality.
Yeah, and I don't want to dwell on it because you get into a rat hole in the conversation.
Yeah.
But I guess the reason why I'm saying it's to everybody, and Leonard, you've been using this for the last 3 days like me. It was so game-changing for me, in terms of, oh my God, this is really the future of computing. And I really believe Apple's done a nice job pulling the future into the present, to coin a phrase.
Yeah.
And I think that, even at the price point, I could see, by the way,
Yeah.
yes, $3,500 is a lot of money. By the way, I got to make a comment. You know what? Did you buy the carrying case?
Yeah, I did.
I'm going to return the carrying case. It's the most. It's like I got to check it in like luggage. But what the heck? It's too. There's going to be a lot less expensive alternatives, ladies and gentlemen, than that behemoth. That, by the way, I think that was $200. I think it was $199.
Yeah, it was like $200.
Well,
yeah.
and what bothered me, I almost ripped that white material that was on it. I thought that was like packaging material. That's gonna get so dirty. Yeah. I mean, anyway, lesson to everyone: don't Apple's not the only source of really good accessories for products, as everybody knows.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying here is that I believe this is a seminal moment in the computer industry. I think to your point, Leonard, people get angry because Apple does have this kind of clout in the marketplace. They've kind of shown the world, here's how an AR product should be designed. The quality is incredibly high. You're probably not going to take this on the subway, especially in New York. But now, having said that, I would travel with this when I go to a hotel room because I can't take my 45-inch display with me, when I'm doing large videos. So that virtual display aspect is great. I could see bringing a Bluetooth keyboard with me because
it works. By the way, you can do that.
Yes. Now, I do want, before we've already gone over the 20 minutes that we kind of committed to, but the last couple of minutes, because I think it's important, because we didn't mention it during the entire call, and you had some concerns about it. Let's talk about the pass-through capability, because initially, you weren't that crazy about it. But Matt, has your opinion changed after the 48 hours, or what's your take?
No, not really. I think it's performed a lot. It hasn't performed to expectation, and I did expect quite a bit. Let's put it that way. I mean, a lot of those expectations being set by the videos that we've seen, and some of the simulations, if you will, the marketing simulations. And so I think one of the reasons is it's difficult to blend the physical and the digital. And one of the things that these headsets try to do is a foveated rendering. And so in low light conditions, I would say my room is not that dimly lit, but it's not exactly all that bright. You see artifacts, if you move your headset around your head objects will blur, and then there's a delay before they're back in focus. Now, I've seen less of this when I was outside, even though I don't plan to use these outside. I think most of us will be using it in them indoors, and depending on the lighting, it's not as bad. Do you know what I'm saying? But it is better than the Oculus Quest 3, but I thought it was going to be a lot better.
I agree with that. Well, why don't we end it there, because I know we're going to do more podcasts.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
One really quick thing. I think the unsung hero of this back here is the Vision OS. No one talks about it. But the thing is the reason why they could do so many amazing things from the software and apps perspective with this is because of the Vision OS, and that AR kit, all these software components and services, API stacks that they've created, all elegantly stitched together, is really what allows them to do. Really come to market with something like this. That's not just a device, but so many applications that are useful. Do you know what I'm saying? That literally instantly, or as part of the setup process, just they land on your device, and so it becomes so useful. That's, I think, been the real I think, catalyst for utility for this thing, where there's these people going, I don't know what I do with it. I was like, guess what? You can do a lot with it.
Well, and the last point I'll just close on, because you kind of hinted at it, the fact that the Vision OS has kind of an Apple iOS and iPad OS look and feel, or an iPhone look and feel, shall we say. Yes, there is a learning curve in terms of using the gestures and stuff, but the fact is, when you put this damn thing on, it feels like an iPhone. It feels like an iPad from an interface standpoint, and that's an enormous advantage for Apple, because you've got millions of people that says, "Oh, by the way, that looks a bit like what I'm using right now."
It's a really good point. You don't have to, like when I was using the Meta Oculus Quest 3, I had to learn and figure out how to use it.
Right.
This.
Leonard, let's stop there, because you and I could talk about 4 o'clock.
I know.
And I do appreciate your coming on. So thanks for checking out providing your input on Vision Pro. Thanks for making the Next Tech Check podcast part of your day or commute. Please make sure that you hit the like and subscribe buttons at the end of today's podcast, or use these convenient on-screen QR codes to connect with us. You can all follow us on X at the handles below. And until next time, have a great week. And thanks again for your insight, Leonard.
See you guys.